If you used to play Star Wars: The Old Republic and have been wondering about whether it's a good time to return to the game in 2021, this video will go through all the pros and cons about the game for returning players, whether you last played a year ago or haven't played since the launch of the game. If you're actually a new player, you'll want to check out my other video called Is SWTOR Worth Trying instead. While whether a game is worth trying is a fairly easy question to answer, whether it's worth it for you to return to Star Wars: The Old Republic after playing it in the past is a lot more of a nuanced question to answer. Let's first go over the cost of the game. If you haven't played in a while, you may notice that the game is now available as free-to-play and has 5 expansions. The free-to-play model allows new players to hop into the game without having to commit with their wallet, and allows them to play from levels 1 through 60 and experience all 8 of their class stories. But free-to-play accounts do have some restrictions. For example, they can't hold more than 1 million credits and can't equip certain types of gear. If you're a returning player, there's a good chance you might actually be a preferred player rather than a true free-to-play player. Preferred players are players who have paid for a subscription or bought the game in the past, and preferred players have less restrictions than free-to-play players, but will still be hit with some restrictions. The good news is that both free-to-play and preferred status players are more than able to hop into the game after a break and can visit their characters, continue their class stories, and check out some of the new content in the game for free. If you subscribed in the past, don't forget you can also unlock 7 free days of subscription by using a referral code, and these referral codes will give you all the perks of being a subscriber, except they will not unlock the later expansions that you don't already have. There's also been an awesome update last year when it comes to the expansions. The first 2 expansions, Rise of the Hutt Cartel and the Shadow of Revan expansions, are now free to all players. You can unlock all 3 newer expansions simply by subscribing for 1 month at about $15 USD. You no longer need to buy each expansion individually. That means if you haven't subscribed in years, you'll get the Knights of the Fallen Empire, Knights of the Eternal Throne, and Onslaught expansions for only $15, less than the cost of a single expansion in the past. You can even unsubscribe the next month and you'll keep your access to the expansions you unlocked. If you're looking to return just to play the Echoes of Oblivion storyline that came out late last year in 2020, as long as your character is level 75, you'll be able to play it without having to resubscribe. Otherwise, you'll need to sub to unlock the latest expansion called Onslaught and play that first. This new Echoes of Oblivion storyline wraps up many of the previous plot lines and has over 48 character cameos from the class stories and past expansions. This story update, while not a full expansion, has about 45 minutes of story cutscenes and is by far my favorite story that has been released since the game's launch. After Echoes of Oblivion, there's a Mandalorian-related extra-long flashpoint called Spirit of Vengeance that kicks off the next story for the Old Republic and introduces some new characters. If you're looking to instead play without subscribing, there's also been some nice upgrades to the free-to-play and preferred model compared to the launch of the game, or rather the game's free-to-play launch. On top of the first 2 expansions being free, all players now have access to more quick bars, which should be enough to hold all your class abilities. Free-to-play and preferred players can now hold up to 1 million credits at a time, and players can more easily revive in place when they're defeated. By the way, midway through 2020, Star Wars: The Old Republic was also released on Steam, along with 191 Steam achievements. If you've had trouble downloading the game through SWTOR.com, Steam might offer you a smoother experience, not to mention all the other useful Steam stuff like being able to pay through Steam, your Steam friends list, and direct patching, which means you don't even need to open the Star Wars: The Old Republic launcher to update your game as long as Steam is running. The Steam launcher does not use Bitrater, and this can often fix patching and downloading issues for a lot of players. Now let's cover the leveling experience. Returning players have a couple huge reasons why they might want to return to the game and level a new character, or continue leveling an existing one. The main class storylines are exactly the same as they were when the game launched, which is a good thing because they're fantastic. What has changed a lot is the way you level, gain XP, and many convenience perks that have been added along the way. First of all, when it comes to leveling, a huge shift was made in the way players are encouraged to experience the game. When the game originally came out, players were encouraged, required, to do almost every quest to gain enough XP so that they would be the correct level for the next area. This sometimes included doing more boring bonus series fetch quests or doing more of the side quests in between the amazing class story quest lines. Now, to make leveling easier, most of these types of quests are actually hidden from players by default. Instead, players are directed mostly towards their main class storyline, and the main planetary storylines, which should give most players enough XP to progress without having to do any side quests. If you're looking to just check out the class quests, veteran subscribed players who have unlocked the various XP boosts can often do just their class quest and still gain enough XP to progress quite easily. There's also some great news when it comes to over-leveling. The game's introduced level syncing to planets so you can earn experience from quests that are far below your level. There's a cool quest on Droman Kos you want to go back and do, but you're now level 48. No problem. You'll be temporarily synced down to level 12 while you're on that planet, and in return, you'll get the appropriate amount of XP that you would get at that level. Even better, you get to keep all the abilities you would have by level 48. Nice! It also makes the game even better to play with friends. You can join low-level friends for quests, and you still get an appropriate amount of XP for completing them, and no longer have to worry too much about staying in the same level range. Personally, I really like this feature, but some players dislike that you can't rampage your way across lower level planets once you've reached a high level, and other players don't like being a super high level while being on a low level planet while still leveling. On top of level sync and the increased XP gain, all planetary speeder points are now automatically unlocked. That means you don't have to walk all the way to the farthest outpost the first time you need to get there. Quick travel points are also automatically unlocked when you walk near them, so you'll never miss out on one if you aren't paying attention. But wait, it gets better. You can now also travel from planet to planet without having to go to your ship by opening the galaxy map that's available to you almost anywhere. Wait, one more thing. Now that all the heroic quests are repeatable, you can pick up heroic quests from the fleet, or even from the activity finder that's on your UI at all times. And they'll come with the option to automatically travel to the heroics planet and starting point. Nice. In short, you can spend less time on traveling if you want to, and more time getting into the story. When you combine all of these changes, it makes for a really nice leveling experience. Like many other systems in the game, crafting's received multiple updates over the years. One of the biggest changes recently is the Legacy Materials Bay. All your crafting materials automatically go into a bay shared by all your characters on your server, and you no longer have to keep your materials in your inventory or banks. In the current iteration of the game, you can even craft some of the very best gear in the game. However, it's a long and expensive road, and most players suggest that it's easier to simply earn it, even if you're a solo player. However, the option to craft that best gear is available for yourself or to craft for others. Crafting also has a lot more fun and cosmetic options available compared to the launch of the game, including more crystals, dyes, and armor sets. Next up, let's talk about the difficulty of the game. Returning players who had difficulty with combat may be pleased to know that the game is now much easier to play. One of the main focuses of the game is the story, and the developers have made changes to make the game more accessible even to the most casual players. This includes making the fights in the original class stories easier, making heroics soloable, adding the option of soloing some of the important story flashpoints with an all-powerful droid who will heal and tank for you, and allowing players to make their companions incredibly strong. At times, your companion may even be more powerful than you are. They've also made it so all companions can tank, DPS, or heal. They're no longer restricted to one role. The leveling content being extremely easy is pretty unfortunate for players looking for a challenge though. The good news is there are more challenging modes available for players at later levels. Players who have access to the Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion and its sequel have the option to play through its chapters on Story Mode, Veteran Mode, or Master Mode, and even Veteran Mode can be a decent challenge for experienced players. I recently just went through all the Master Mode chapters and they were really fun, but really hard. There's also Veteran Mode and Master Mode flashpoints and operations for players who enjoy challenging group content, and players who enjoy player versus player content can hop into the competitive ranked PvP scene. When players ask about whether the game is worth returning to or not, they're also asking about the game's population and whether the game is dead. Instead of having many smaller servers, SWTOR now has 5 mega servers. While some servers were very quiet before the merge, all 5 servers currently have a good population. The merge allowed more players to use the group finder together, and it seems to have worked very successfully, and all the current servers seem to be pretty active. Except the French server. Sorry guys. Last year was really great for Star Wars The Old Republic's growth, as the development team put in a ton of work so it would become available on Steam, which introduced the game to many gamers who may not have heard of it before, and reintroduced the game to players who hadn't played since launch. We saw a ridiculously huge boom of players, new and returning, after the summer Steam launch, and many of them have stuck around since. The second season of The Mandalorian near the end of the year had also inspired players to jump back into the game and play the Bounty Hunter story, just like the original season boosted numbers the previous year. For 2021, we also just had a ton of different Star Wars-based TV shows announced for Disney Plus, as well as a Star Wars movie is in the works. So this will likely cause a similar effect of players enjoying Star Wars content and then wanting to come play Star Wars The Old Republic when they finished watching. As for whether the game will stop receiving updates or be sunsetted in the future, Star Wars The Old Republic is looking like it's in a great place. The game got a new expansion late 2019 and a big story update in 2020, though updates in 2020 were much lighter than normal due to quarantine setbacks, including the transition to working from home and the inability for voice actors to access their normal studios earlier in the year. The developers have been giving so many hints about the fact that 2021 is going to be a big year for Star Wars The Old Republic due to the 10th anniversary. I'm going to give you guys some quotes that the developers posted when they were celebrating the 9th anniversary, talking about the upcoming one. So this one's from Keith Koenig, one of the major drivers of the game. I have a ton of memories, and this year is no different. Almost a full decade, and so much has changed, but a lot hasn't. No, I'm not talking about the bug you reported 5 years ago. We have some major plans for our 10th year. I almost can't wait to start telling you what's up, when you'll get involved, along with some really cool underlying changes I think y'all will appreciate. And this one's from Chris Schmidt, who says, and yet, after all these years, we find ourselves looking forward still. There's so many more stories to tell, so many more experiences we want to deliver and share with the community. What could be next? We dream big in Texas, so buckle up, y'all. So as I'm making this video, we do not have a roadmap or anything official confirmed about what's going on in 2021. It does look really optimistic, and I would be really willing to bet money that there's going to be an expansion at the end of the year. But in the meantime, we're expecting more information about everything coming up as the year goes on. Now let's go over some of the stuff that's been added to the game after its launch. The biggest additions to the game are of course the 5 expansions. Each one has a whole new wave of story content for you to check out. Here's the bad news though. Although the expansions are pretty good, they no longer offer a unique class storyline, and your playthrough on a Sith Inquisitor will be similar to your playthrough on an Imperial Agent. The first expansion, Rise of the Hutt Cartel, and the latest expansion, Onslaught, offers 2 storylines, one for Imperial players and one for Republic players. Shadow of Revan expansion offers only a single streamlined storyline, but has a mini class quest for each class. Knights of the Fallen Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne only offer a single storyline, with some key cutscene changes depending on whether your character leans towards the dark side or the light side. When it comes to the stories of the expansions, players have very mixed feelings about whether or not they can be considered good. Some players love them, and some players hate them. Either way, they are quite a departure from the original class storylines. The latest expansion, Onslaught, seems to have been received well by the player base, with a focus on the classic Republic vs. Empire storyline, though it seems to have a shorter storyline than previous expansions, though it does return to a unique Republic and Imperial storyline. I really enjoyed being able to visit the lore-rich planets of Osis and Onderon and explore the brand new planet of Mek-Sha, a hollowed-out asteroid filled with the shady denizens from across the galaxy. After Onslaught is the Echoes of Vengeance combo storyline, which ties up the plot brought to the character's attention by Kieran's Scourge at the end of Onslaught, and sets up the beginning of a new story involving Mandalorians. Even with their flaws, I would still say SWTOR's expansions are definitely worth at least a one-time playthrough, especially since you can unlock them permanently all for the cost of 1 month's subscription. Not to mention the first 2 are now completely free. The 3 newest expansions do, however, have a really cool new feature called Cinematic Cutscenes. The Bioware team upped their cutscene game in Knights of the Fallen Empire with incredible camera angles, lighting, and atmosphere, and it'll feel like you're in a living movie more than ever. In late 2020, a new system was introduced to the game called the Login Reward System that rewards players with items simply for logging in once a day. This new system lets you play at your own pace and does not punish you for not logging in every day. The rewards range from being junk items to pretty nice unique items like purple sparkle powder and different types of tokens. While this isn't a groundbreaking addition, it is something new to come check out in the game, not to mention being able to get some free stuff. Players who enjoy group content will be pleased to find out that a lot has been added to the game since launch. For the 4-man group flashpoints, there's now around 41 flashpoints. There's starting to be so many I'm losing count. Available to play with friends or random players in the group finder. Many 8-man and 16-man operations have also been added to the game, and there are now 11 operations plus 5 single boss operations available. If you haven't played in a long time, you're really going to enjoy the new content, especially because the developers have made the fights a lot less tank and spank than the operations that were available near the beginning of the game. If you're hopping into operations, expect a lot of surprises along the way. Let's go over the actual list of PvE content that's available in the game at the time this video is released. For flashpoints, on top of the original 15 flashpoints, we've got 2 Rackle flashpoints, 2 flashpoints on the planet of CZ-198, 4 flashpoints as part of the Shadow of Revan expansion prelude, 2 flashpoints for the Shadow of Revan expansion, 6 Star Fortress flashpoints, though these are pretty similar to each other, that are part of the Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion, 10 Uprising, which are pretty fun and short versions of flashpoints without story cutscenes, and each one is set on a separate planet, having different silly and fun new mechanics like turning into a Rackle or getting a sand pet. 3 story-heavy flashpoints that wrap up the storyline of Knights of the Eternal Throne called Crisis on Umbara, A Traitor Among the Schists, and the Nathema Conspiracy. A flashpoint that is the finale to the Onslaught expansion called Objective Meridian, set on Corellia, and a new flashpoint called Spirit of Vengeance, set on multiple spaceships and revolving around the Mandalorians of the Old Republic. Players who haven't played in a long time who enjoy operations won't be disappointed either. Here's what's currently available in the game. So there's Eternity Vault, Karagas Palace, Explosive Conflict, Terror from Beyond, Scum and Villainy, Dread Fortress, Dread Palace, The Ravagers, Temple of Sacrifice, and the 2 newest operations are Gods from the Machines, which is part of the IOCAST storyline, an intense and mechanics-heavy operation that players who enjoy difficult content will love, and the latest operation is called Nature of Progress, an easier operation with lots of fun and unique mechanics, which is set on Duxon and is tied loosely to the Onderon storyline. The Duxon Master Mode is very difficult, and only a few teams have completed the timed run and all the special achievements related to it. Players who enjoy player versus player content also have some new maps to discover depending on when they last played. In addition to the original 3 PvP maps, there's Ancient Hypergates and Odessa Proving Grounds, which have an entirely different rule set compared to the original maps, a reskin of Alderaan Civil War set on Yavin, and 6 new arenas which are objectiveless deathmatch maps, including the Mandalorian Battle Ring. With the addition of player housing, there has also been a renewed interest in dueling with guilds and groups of friends in the private stronghold instances where you can create your own arena layouts. The Rishi Hideaway Stronghold also has an area you can turn into a Hutball map or deathmatch map with your own layout, and a section dedicated to dueling. Last year was a bit rough for player versus player content, so in 2020 there was no new PvP maps, no new PvP modes, and nothing major when it comes to PvP being added. So there were some changes to the way the queuing up works. There were some changes to the way deserting works. There were some changes to curb bad player behavior, but that's about it. So at the time of making this video, we're on ranked season 13. And tokens are no longer season specific, and many of the old rewards are available as replicas from the ranked vendor and are being released throughout season 13 and the upcoming season 14, which should be out in 2021. The developers have mentioned that after that, they will be completely retiring the replica rewards and instead focusing on creating new and unique rewards for the PvP community. While not PvP specific, last year also brought us the addition of Legacy-wide Ignore. If you'd like to try your hand at PvP in the sky, Galactic Starfighter was also added to the game, which allows you to pilot your own spaceship against other players. Unfortunately, this mode of play is one of the least popular in the game, and it can sometimes be difficult to get into matches, but the players who do enjoy it really enjoy it, so it's possible to find Starfighter communities to group up with. There's a total of 4 space PvP maps available, 2 of which have both Domination and Team Deathmatch modes available. So I'm pretty sure Galactic Starfighter didn't receive any updates at all at 2020. However, I finally got into playing GSF myself last year, and I found the community was just fine, lots of people playing. Most of the time I could get a match within a decent amount of time, and I had a lot of fun learning and getting better at it. Since the launch of the game, a series of rotating events has also been released. They last about a week long, and which ones are available at any given time switches around, and they offer unique rewards that can't be found anywhere else. The events include the Rackle event, the Gree event, the Bounty Contract Week event, and the Dantooine event, sometimes known as the Pirate event. Last year, due to the constraints on what type of story content could be produced during quarantine, the team focused on what they could produce and introduced 2 brand new events to the game. The Swoop event is a non-combat focused solo racing tournament that lasts a week and runs once every 1 or 2 months, where you can race for 3 different teams on Dantooine, Tatooine, and Onderon, and complete short story quests for the teams as you rank up in reputation. The Feast of Prosperity event was also added, which is a 3-week cooking-based fall event which will return for its 2nd time in the fall this year, where you can follow recipes to cook gourmet dishes, deliver dishes to tables as a serving droid, and hunt down world bosses in large groups. And, of course, we'll see the Life Day event return in the winter with even more Wookiees to hug than ever before, and the Nightlife Casino event in the summer. Outside the main expansion storylines, there's also many planets to go explore, each with their own storyline and daily quests to explore, including the Black Hole on Corellia, Section X, CZ-198, Oricon, Ziost, Iokath, Osis, Dantooine during peacetime, and Onderon and Mek-Sha after the main storyline. Personally, I really enjoy the storylines attached to these planets, and they really help flesh out the world outside of the expansion stories. If you like repeatable things, the developers also converted many of the bonus series missions into a repeatable daily and weekly missions. So think like the bonus series on Terrace or Alderaan. The Onslaught expansion has brought some interesting changes to deciding how to gear your character at level 75. The first is access to multiple set bonuses. You'll have almost 30 set bonus options to choose from, some specifically for your advanced class and others which are generic and can be worn by any class. The second update is the addition of a new type of gear called Tacticals. You can equip one tactical item and it can change the way one of your abilities works, kind of like a mini set bonus. Third is the addition of amplifiers, which give you extra stats and are kind of like randomized augments. The way gearing up works now is also very different. You can earn gear directly from many types of content like flashpoints, operations, story content, PvP, or dailies. But the biggest difference is that the gear you receive will be based on your current item rating. This means you'll constantly be getting small upgrades to your armor over time, and doing more intense content like operations will gear you faster. If you want to know more about the current gearing system, check out my video, How to Gear Up at level 75. The new system is also very friendly for gearing up an alt character once you've geared up your first character. Personally, I like the new system a lot more than the Galactic command system when it launched, and enjoy being able to constantly improve my gear score. Oh, did I mention all level 75 gear is now legacy bound? The end of last year also brought us a new tier of incredibly expensive augments that require rare materials from both operations and ranked PvP. A few years after the game's launch, player housing was introduced to the game. Players can create and share a house between all their characters and decorate it with decorations from around the galaxy. New decorations are released on a regular basis, even now years down the road, and there are lots of convenient decorations like cargo holds and GTNs. Players can get strongholds on these planets: Coruscant, Dromund Kaas, Nar Shaddaa, Tatooine, Yavin 4, Manon, a moving train on the planet of Umbara, and a stronghold with a private beach on Rishi, and the Alderaan stronghold was released last year. There have also been some cool updates to cosmetic armor available in the game since launch. One of the big ones is the outfit designer. You can now have the appearance of your favorite armor while not sacrificing the stats of the armor you need for combat. Nice. Armors can now be dyed and take on different colors, and there are hundreds of dyes available. There are now animated armors and armors that have a special effect when you draw your weapon. Weapons can now have a weapon tuning attached to them, which gives them a special animated effect. There's also a special new type of armor where bits and pieces of it will change color based on your weapon's color crystal. So you put in a green color crystal, the glowy bits in your armor turn green. And the armors being made this and last year seem to be a lot higher quality when it comes to details and textures, especially at higher resolutions, and including lots of the Mandalorian inspired armor sets, and a really nice new Revan's light-sized Starforged armor set just came out. Conquests are a way of completing rotating weekly objectives in Star Wars: The Old Republic to earn some great rewards by playing different parts of the game. You gain points by completing certain tasks like flashpoints or war zones, which change each week. Conquest is also a way for guilds to compete against each other and work together as a group. There are additional rewards if your guild also meets their guild goals. Conquest was first introduced in 2014, and it has had numerous updates over the years and was given a huge overhaul last year, making it easier than ever to participate in Conquest. Seriously, it feels like you get Conquest points just for breathing sometimes. Speaking of guilds, the guild panel and guild features have been given a major upgrade since launch. There have been changes to how you can sort and organize guild members, guild mail, guild heraldry symbols, guild flagships, guild levels, and even guild perks. In short, returning players have these things to look forward to: reaching level 75, 5 expansions, 26 new flashpoints since the launch of the game, including solo ones, a total of 11 operations in various modes, more PvP maps, Galactic Starfighter, daily login rewards, player housing, and lots of nice quality of life upgrades along the way. If you didn't hear a single thing in that list that caught your interest, then returning to the game might not be worth it to you. If you have taken a long break, or haven't played since launch though, there has been a ton of content added over the years to dig into, and you don't have to break the bank by buying each expansion now that you can unlock them all through your subscription, or even play the first 2 expansions for free. So, is Star Wars: The Old Republic worth returning to? This question is going to be based mainly on the reason you left in the first place, and how long ago you played. If you left near the launch of the game because you felt there wasn't enough content available, you're going to be blown away by how much is available now. Lots more story, lots more ops, lots more flashpoints, lots more daily planets, and lots more to do in general. On the flip side, if you left a year or 2 ago because you finished all the story, I would say it's worth returning, if only to check the new stories out, including the Onslaught expansion and the Echoes of Oblivion story, but don't expect them to take too long to get through. If you left before you ever reached max level, I think it would be worth it to return now that leveling has been streamlined. You'll get to endgame a lot faster and can focus on the best storylines and skip the side quests. If you left because you didn't like the graphics or animations, although the graphics are better than at launch, at their core, they're still the same style 9 years later, so it's probably not worth it for you to return. Same thing with the combat. If you didn't enjoy Star Wars: The Old Republic's combat, it hasn't changed much since launch. Though, if you really want to give it another go, I would suggest trying out a different class, as different classes can have very different playstyles. If you left due to technical reasons, well, the game still has a lot of technical issues, but likely not the same ones as when you left. Might as well give it a shot, especially if you can try downloading it through Steam instead. If you left due to real-life reasons, one of the very nice things is that because Star Wars The Old Republic is so story-focused, expansions never make past storylines irrelevant. You can easily pick up where you left off, or start a new character at level 1, no matter how many expansions have come out since you last played. I hope this super long video has given you the information you've been looking for to help you decide if you want to return to the game or not. If you decide it's not for you, good luck. I hope you find another good game you'd like to play. If you have decided to return, welcome back. My entire channel is focused on Star Wars The Old Republic guides, both for new and veteran players. If you want to show your support for this series, or to have similar Star Wars The Old Republic videos show up on your YouTube homepage, subscribe to this channel. Good luck, and may the Force be with you.